Hey, thank you everybody for coming onto the show, listening to the Copy Closer podcast. Today, I've got a really special guest, someone I've been following for a few years, and I've actually had the pleasure of meeting in person in Miami, Florida, and it was really cool to finally meet her. And it's actually one of it's not, I don't want to say one of the few women, because there's tons of women entrepreneurs, but she's somebody who's really making moves, making waves, and really making a name for herself in a space where there aren't enough women, I don't think, who are credited for a lot of good stuff. So I'd actually like you to introduce yourself, Pauline, if that's cool, because you'll talk about yourself better than I might talk about you. So Pauline, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here. And out of all of the places in the world that we could meet, Miami, Florida is one of my favorite. You know, I go there as much as I can, at least once a year. So my name is Pauline Longdon.
So if anybody's got Facebook, add her on Facebook.
Yeah, stalk me on Facebook. That's where I hang out all the time. And I'm a copywriter marketer, but I haven't always been a copywriter. I was a marketer before I was a copywriter. And I got into copywriting out of necessity because I couldn't find a copywriter to write what I needed for my business. So I started to learn it, and people started to take notice of me, and they went, "Hey, who's writing your copy?" And I just said, I am. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? And they went, can you write for me? I've got people who need copy like what you're writing, but I can't find copywriters to do it. And I just went, ka-ching. It's like, that's brilliant.
It's so funny. I want to dive into your story a little bit more and really kind of to get where you started, and really maybe before you even got into copyright, how you even heard about copy and stuff as well. But I kind of want to touch on something, and I want to touch on it later on, but you just brought it up, and that's selling your own stuff. You know, as copywriters, one of the hardest things that a lot of copywriters have, and really any freelancer, is just getting work and trying to figure out, how am I credible enough? How do I get all these clients? How do I do this? And one of the secrets is actually running your own offers, because once you're able to do it for yourself and people see that, you're no longer just like any old copywriter. You're someone who's got skin in the game and who actually uses those skills for themselves. Because a lot of clients will say, hey, if you're such a good copywriter, why aren't you doing it yourself? And now you can say, well, I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And it's funny because I had a mentor that pushed me to write a sales letter about myself, and I hated every moment of it, because who wants to write a sales letter about yourself as a copywriter? And I'm grateful that I did, because when you look around, how many copywriters have got a sales letter selling themselves? And like, my belief is, if you can't sell yourself as a copywriter, you have no right to try to sell anyone else's stuff at all.
That's so true. That's so true. I mean, if you don't believe in yourself enough to be able to sell yourself, then you can't do it for somebody else. But let's go back a little.
Yep.
Let's talk about, before you even, like, how did you even hear about copywriting? Most people hear copywriting for the first time and they think it's like a trademark or something, right? So
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, even in America, like, you know,
where are you from? Just so all the listeners here and viewers
if they haven't gathered, I'm in Australia, and I actually do change my accent to like more a Hollywood Australian, so it's not as jarring on the old ears. I don't want to talk like Crocodile Dundee, and you know, people go, "Oh, that's not a knife," that kind of thing. So, I live in Australia, and just going back a bit, I used to be in the Australian Army. I was a nurse, and so I've been to war and some pretty cool things. So walked around with a semi-automatic, fully loaded, for about a whole year of my life. And anyway, that was quite a surreal experience, going shopping with it at a supermarket, going into the bank with this great big light weapon. Hey, how you doing? I want to get some money out. It's like, oh yeah, it was just a totally different world. And anyway, so I got a bit broken in the Army. They made me go a bit mental, because they just burnt me out. They wanted to send me on 3 back-to-back deployments, and so my mind broke. It just went, you know, this is enough. Enough is enough. This is high stress. So I got kicked out of the Army with major depression, and that was probably the worst day of my life. I was supposed to drive into a tree that day, but
wow,
something stopped me. Like a voice in my head said, you know, stop the effing car. And I just, I thought, okay, if we're meant to be here, what am I meant to do? So the Army had written me off and said, you're going to be depressed forever. And I went, well, I can't live with myself that way, so I've got to work something out. And so then I started, you know, looking at being an entrepreneur, because I was told I'd never nurse again, which was a lie, but it was a good lie because it made me determined to do something different with my life. And so
You
then
were
I got
told
into,
you would never be a nurse again? The army
yeah,
told
yeah,
you that?
yeah. They just totally stripped me from everything that was important to me. And but I mean, it was really manipulative and really crap, but without it, I wouldn't be where I am today. So there's a blessing in the curse. So I can't
That's
be really too upset about it.
So how long did it take you to, I mean, that's a serious, I mean, to go, a lot of the folks that I know that have gone into the military, I mean, that's what they know. And to just kind of be written off like that, what do you, I mean, that's, if that's your life, if that's, I mean, what do you,
Yeah. Oh,
that's
I was
how
devastated.
did you transition? How do you even bounce back from something like that? That's
Yeah.
serious.
Well, I guess the bit that I always gloss over with my story, and I really ought to not do that, is that I did it all drug free because in the last year of being in the army, they were experimenting on different drug combos, like antidepressants and all this other stuff. And they actually overdosed me. And I ended up in hospital with what they call serotonin syndrome, where you've got too much blood in your serotonin. It's like, that's how much you've got in your body. Like, it's just too much. Anyway, but then they covered it up. And that was my moment of truth. I just went, you know what? You're not looking after me when I need you most. And it's funny because you're depressed, you want to die, but you don't want to die like that. And so I just went, I'm out of here. So I took discharge. I didn't fight it anymore. I just went, you know what, if I'm not meant to be here, something obviously else is going to happen. And then I just became a businesswoman, and well, it was a struggle, I'll be honest, until I actually then started to learn marketing and then subsequently copywriting, because when you don't know those skills in business, all you're doing, it's the blind following the blind. And I was just following like people who had no idea at all. It was, I don't even know how I stayed in business at all.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because a lot of, entrepreneurs, there's a saying, I don't know who said it, but, entrepreneurship is like the loneliest job in the world. And it really can be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also builds a really cool community, because although a lot of us may not be able to talk to our employees or people, that we hire and stuff about certain issues, because we've got to paint the picture, stay strong, lead the team and all that stuff. But what being an entrepreneur does, it really kind of puts you on this path of self-development, because you can't continue to rise up the quote unquote ranks. You can't keep getting better if you don't actually improve yourself. If you don't become a good leader, if you don't know how to communicate and do these things, you're going to fall flat on your face. So it's just like what you said. It's cool that you're able to actually have that perspective, because I don't think a lot of people have that type of strength. I mean, that's a mental muscle right there that you've got. I mean, it gives me chills thinking about it, but to be able to go through that kind of, bad breakup sort of deal, and then use entrepreneurship. It almost seems like entrepreneurship was like your self-development tool, right? I mean, that's almost what it seems like.
Yeah. Well, the thing that got me out of depression was the self-development. I actually went and did NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And also I did a couple of like more woo-woo modalities that worked on high-speed belief change.
Right.
And it was way faster than NLP. I don't promote it anymore because it changed, but I still do those kind of sessions from time to time for people. I call them like reset your mindset sessions and things. And I certainly am always doing deep mental and belief work on myself. Something comes up and I'll identify it and then shift it, and then I move forward. And that's
that's a big skill, though. That right there is a skill in itself. A lot of people like to write that off like, oh, this is that woo-woo shit, or this. But you know what? Yeah. Although there might be that woo-woo stuff, you've got to work on your mind. I mean, there's no way. I mean, we just kind of got a little punch in the face recently in our business. I mean, if we didn't have our mind right, it would have been harder to recover. But as soon as you kind of develop this mindset of being able to go through obstacles, or if you literally do believe that every bad thing that happened is preparing you for something else, little things like that, as woo-woo as it sounds, that really gives you a strong mental base to do a lot of things.
I agree, because everything that comes up, and it's funny because someone asked me recently, how do I bounce so quickly? And it's because of the mindset stuff that I do. And exactly what you said before, I've got a very strong mental muscle. Yes, I have my days and I have my melting moments, but they're not weeks and months, and I don't let everything derail me. But going back to the mental muscle, that you need to have that as an entrepreneur, because, and we talk about having a thick skin and a hard-boiled attitude and all that sort of stuff, but it all comes together. You need to have that resilience and grit and toughness I don't know, there's so many wordsmiths, we could go on all day naming them, but yeah, you really need that. And that's something that I'm proud that I've got, because if someone puts an obstacle in my way, and believe me, I've had some mega obstacles, and I don't like to make the excuse because I'm a female. However, sometimes that does happen. People go, oh, yeah, that's right, you're a chick. I'll get this dude to write my copy. And I go, that's your loss, because that's not a problem. But when people put obstacles in front of me, that mental resilience and the toughness, the mental muscle, doesn't just help me get over them. Like, I'll have a plan B, C, D, E to get around over it, and everything. Like, anything that gets in my way just tempers my mettle and makes me stronger. So I'm grateful for that.
Why do you think people are still like that against women? I don't get it. I mean, we have a friend, Tiffany and I have a friend named Aisha and Varun, her husband Varun. Aisha is obviously a female, and she gets tons of crap from other doctors, and she's a doctor. So, like, she's better than all the other guys, And so it's crazy to see that, which is another reason I want to bring great copywriters that aren't just great copywriters as a woman. You're just a great copywriter, man or woman, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But it's just, why do you think why is it still like that? I mean, this is 2019, it's a little ridiculous that people are still holding women down in that case, when especially, it's not like it's not like a guy's asking you to like go lift a 1,000-pound thing. This isn't a physical, I mean, a woman can, some of the top copywriters like yourself and we've talked about them off the show. They're like the top copywriters in the world, and they're women, Yeah,
exactly. One of my big heroes is Pauline Longdon. My God, that woman can write.
Man, I met her in person in South Carolina, and I started sweating. I got like awestruck. I was like, oh my God, I've been following her for like 10 years, and she's right here in front of me. Let me go. I got to walk away and get some water and come back and restart.
Yeah, I'm such a fangirl. And then we've got like Laurie Morgan, and I stalked her to be trained by her. I stalked Carleen to be trained by her, because I wanted to see how these women, because they are at the top of their game, how those women do it, because I was struggling at the time. And you know what they do? They just get on with it. They don't worry about it, and they just let their copy prove, what
it can do.
It's kind of like, don't tell them, show them. And that's what I think a lot of female copywriters do. But I know we are a little bit too quiet, because I see you guys out there going, oh yeah, rah, rah, I'm this. And I go, oh, I can't do that. And it's like, well, why not? I need to. So I just take a leap.
About self-promotion. Nobody likes it. I don't like the fact that I call myself King Carlos. I feel a little egotistical about that. My buddy AP, Anthony Powell, is the one who nicknamed me King Carlos, because I was writing copy for him. Like, you should be King Carlos. And I never liked that. But you know what? If you're not going to promote yourself, just like what you were saying before, why should anyone hire you if you don't believe in yourself enough? So as much as we don't like talking about, as copywriters, not, anybody, no one really likes talking about themselves. Well, maybe that's not true. There are people who love talking about themselves. But for the most part, especially copywriters, from what I've seen, most of us are really introverted, right? And so the thought of being so extroverted and saying, I'm this, I'm great, look what I've done, it's so counterintuitive. But if you want to get success, whether that's in freelancing and copywriting and anything, you've got to step out of that comfort zone. And that's where the whole talk we were talking about, entrepreneurship, makes you grow as a person, because you've got to develop new skills.
Yeah, because like I'm known as the copy alchemist, and I never named myself that. There's actually other people, because they went, man, you're just turning like these words into gold. And I'm going, oh yeah, that's cool. Because with the woo-woo and everything that I was doing, I really loved the whole idea of alchemy and sorcery and all that sort of stuff. But then it's like, because when I was starting, there's like the wizard of words and that, and people going, why don't you call yourself the wizardess? And I'm thinking, well, that's a feminization of a male word. I don't even want that. Like, and like what you said before, you're a great copywriter just because that, not because you're a female. I don't want to be known as the best female copywriter, because that's like, what a category. That's like being the fastest 90-year-old woman on the planet at the 25-meter sprint. It's like so freaking specific. It's like, how can't you be good at that if you try hard, So I just want to be a great copywriter. That's all I want to be. No qualifiers, just get in there. And that's what I'm doing. I've just like all the other ladies and other people, just let your copy prove,
100%. I love that. And so what do you see, like, we'll get into this is kind of like a multi-part question, right? So one is more about copywriters, one is more about like marketing stuff. So for copywriters or freelancers in general, because there's people who are listening to this show that may not be copywriters, they're like web designers or something, but we all have a very similar hustle. It's just a different skill that we're peddling, right? So So what would you say, what's something as freelancers that we should be doing that you just don't see enough of?
I think it is self-promotion. And I think it's, when we're talking about self-promotion, it doesn't have to be that, like hyped up, real, I don't know, that used car salesman. We don't need to do that. We should be more sophisticated than that as marketers and copywriters, that we can actually show our worth and our value, whether it's just, reaching out a hand when someone says that they're struggling to find the right words, and we jump in and go, okay, so here's about 50 that I thought up in that last minute. Here, give it to them. And they go, holy crap, like I couldn't even think of one. And there you are, boom, with all these ideas. So, I just give information freely. So I think just being helpful to other people and not having that air of arrogance of like, oh yeah, I'm a copywriter and you're below me. I don't think anyone's below me, because we all have individual skills and things that we can offer each other. You're great at some things that I'm not at, and vice versa. And that's where the collaboration and the help actually comes in within the industry. And I think actually something that freelancers don't do enough of is play nice with each other. Like, we're not the enemy, just like, calm the farm and just chill out. It's like, just, there's enough for everyone. And like, the kind of clients that you get aren't the ones that I would want. And
they're not just hiring me.
Exactly. Like, it's just,
I know that. They hire like 5 copywriters or 10 out of 10.
I know, they're total copy tarts, aren't they? They're like, they're just dating us all, just seeing who they want to get hitched to. So, and I'm cool with that, and that's another thing. I don't bag out other copywriters. Some copywriters do that. And let's go back to my Bible of life is how to win friends and influence people. It says in there, thou shalt not bag out other people. Just don't do it. It doesn't make you look better. It actually brings the person's attention to your competition or whoever you're bagging out. So if you do that, you're a freaking idiot. Like, just stop it.
That's so true. That's so true. I see so many people trying to be controversial, and like, you can be controversial if you're just controversial, but sometimes it appears like a try hard if someone just sees, I should be controversial. Like, here's an example. My friend Mitch Miller, who I'm going to have on this show, he's just naturally controversial. Sure, I'm sure plans certain things and pushing the envelope, but that's Mitch. Like, Mitch is naturally Mitch. Like, that's just who he is. But some people will see that and be like, I need to try and be controversial like Mitch Miller. And they just try too hard and it doesn't work, because that's just not them. So he and I have talked before, and it's so funny. He called me like the Tony Robbins of copywriting. He's like, because you're just not that controversial, dude. You smile, you're polite, but both sides work. I think it's just, you have to be able to be yourself. You don't necessarily have to be this one type of person. There's different strategies and tactics we can borrow from, but trying to mold yourself into the next Carlos Redlich or Pauline or Mitch or whatever it might be, you don't have to do that. Just be the best version of yourself. But you mentioned something I want to go back to, which is the collaborating, the partnering up. That's actually when I started taking my business to the next level, is when I started partnering up with other freelancers that could complement me and vice versa. So the perfect person for me was always a person who was able to run ads and build funnels. I can do both. Ads, not nearly as good as a real ad person, but I can build a decent funnel, but my strength is copywriting. So what I've done in the past is I partner up with an ad person. I say, hey, I'll build the funnel, I'll write the copy, and then we split the cost for ads, and you get 50%, I get 50%, and let's make money. And so we did a quick offer for in 1 week where Tiffany and I made like 40 grand. Well, total. So we each made like 20, but 40 grand in like a week. But it wasn't because we were just so good. It was because we collaborated with the right person, able to drive qualified traffic, and I was able to close them on the phone, and we split the money. But a lot of people, just like you said, we don't play nice with other copywriters or other freelancers. And that's where the money is. Copywriters like Mike Becker, for example, he's got a group as well. I haven't talked to him in a minute, but he interviewed me on his podcast, and I got business from that, right? And so I was going to look at Mike Becker and say, he's my competition. Boom, he's my enemy. I'm just not going to grow as much. We could collaborate. We could work together and increase our price because now they get 2 copies. There's so much money to be made when we collaborate.
Yeah. It's kind of like, instead of competition, it's like co-opetition. It's like you cooperate, but there's like, because you're both kind of, it's the co-opetition is like you're.
Did you make that word up?
I've heard it before, but I would love to claim
That's
it.
That's a really good one. I like that.
Yeah, but it's a concept where, you know, like he'll strive to be better than you, you'll strive to be better than him, and you both, you know, rise each other up. But at the same time, you're cooperating, collaborating, and yeah.
Well, someone I did
maybe,
that
maybe
with.
we could do collaboration.
Collaboration. I like it.
That's my word. I just made that one up. So, you know, whatever.
Yeah, we'll use that one.
Yeah.
So Everett Farnell is another copywriter. He and I have worked on tons of projects together. And what we realized one time that we were talking to the same financial publisher. And so we're like, well, let's see if, you know, instead of only one of us getting the deal, let's pitch that we're going to fight against each other and try and beat each other and really sell the competition aspect. And so they each gave us like 10 grand or whatever to write this sales letter. So it was like 20, I mean, rather than only one of us get the deal, they loved that we emailed them in one big email together saying, hey, we realize that we're both pitching you to do this gig. Why don't you just hire both of us? And then the person that wins, that's the person that earns your long-term business. Everett and I are friends, but I want to beat the pants off him and he wants to beat the pants off me. Let's get this game, you know? And that in itself sold the deal, because who doesn't want copywriters fighting against each other to make you more money, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I love that you even thought outside of the box, because as copywriters, aren't we supposed to be able to come up with a big idea and, you know, have these things?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you say that. I've actually started cheating a little bit in my own offers. Like I sell stuff in the religious niche. I sell stuff in the martial art niche. And instead of writing these long form sales letters, what I've started doing is just selling little tripwire offers. So I sell something for $7. And generally what I started doing is getting a physical product that they buy. And then that when they buy that, they're told that they're automatically enrolled in a monthly membership for like $7 a month or $9 a month or whatever it is. But what that does is it makes your job as, not just as a copywriter, but as a marketer or a person who runs their own funnels, it makes it that much easier, because it's so much simpler to sell a physical product that someone can see and imagine coming into the mail and all that, rather than selling like PDFs or videos. It's like selling a physical thing versus just kind of selling airy-fairy ideas. It's so much easier to get someone in on that physical product and just make the upsell or the automatic enrollment for the digital membership. So you make all your money on the digital side, but you only need like 3 or 4 paragraphs of copy to sell that offer. The key is having a really good offer. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. So tell us some stuff on that you've seen, because you've worked with tons of people and really high level people. So what do you see that's more of a tactical stuff that marketers or people who are listening to this call can really take away and start applying into their business? What do you see that we should be doing?
Well, I think really when you look at the skill sets that you can have in this industry is what I see is a lot of copywriters just want to be copywriters, like, you know, word slingers and that. And I just think that I think the days of just being a pen for hire copywriter are doomed. I think and I'm glad that I started with marketing and then got into copywriting, because I have the whole concept of how it all fits together. And like years ago, I had a client that had come to me, and he was an accomplished marketer, so he thought. So he had everything mapped out.
So he thought?
Yeah, so he thought. And so I actually, I did. People talk about wireframes, but I just did a flow chart, because I'm quite a visual person. So I just mapped it all out, and I said, okay, so the way I see it is that you've got a hole in your funnel here, you've got a hole in your funnel there, and there's a great big whopping hole here. You don't have a marketing funnel, you have a marketing colander, and it's straining everything out. It's not going to work. And he just looked at me and he said, all I wanted you to do was write the copy. And I said, well, that would be a disservice if I just wrote the copy, because I would be writing copy that directed people to a dead end or over a cliff. And so I think one of the best things that people can do is have even just like a basic knowledge of marketing and have an overall vision, like see the big picture, like, you know, we talk about the 3-foot view, but like expand out and get the like 30,000 foot view, then the 30-foot view. Just keep going in and out like to the picture of what you're doing so that you can actually be of more service to people. Because yes, I could have written that copy for him for, you know, whatever amount of money he was paying me, which was quite substantial, and it would have bombed. And then, you know what he would have blamed? He would have blamed the copy.
Right.
Because copy sucked. Well, this copy didn't suck because, man, I wrote it. So like, it doesn't suck. I don't actually give clients sucky copy. That's just my rule, you know. Why write anything if it's not going to, if you don't even believe that it's going to work, why give it to the client? So, yeah, because of that is literally the gun to the head mentality. I'll just talk about that for a moment.
Absolutely, yeah. Please.
Everyone always talks about this gun to the head mentality because like Gary Halbert and John Carlton say it, right? But, you know, like no one actually takes it literally or seriously, and they go, oh yeah, you know, gun to the head. Yeah, I did a really good job at this copy. But okay, so here's something about the way that I see that. Because I'm being mentored by Paris, and he's given me a bigger perspective on everything.
Just so the people who don't know who he is.
Paris Lampropoulos, you know, the legend. But
yeah. If you don't know, he's a legend. He's a legend.
Yeah. I'm one of his copy cubs, and that's quite a coup to get that. But back to the gun to the head mentality. What happens is people say, yeah, I did the gun to the head mentality. But then if you said to them, if I held a loaded pistol to your head, and your copy had to work, you know, just for one person to buy that, and if it didn't, I'd shoot you in the head, and that would be it. And it's like, oh no, well, I wouldn't. So if you answer that question to no, I wouldn't, well, see, you're ripping off every client that you've ever had and ever will have, because the gun may not be up against your head, but it's certainly up against your client's head, because they are risking their life on your copy. You know, their success, whether they can actually feed their kids, pay their mortgage, and continue in their business, all relies on your copy. So as copywriters, if we don't have that gun to the head mentality, we are seriously ripping people off.
You know, it's interesting. What I love about that is it's actually just being a good person. So a lot of folks will start saying, oh, I've got to close them on this sales letter. And that's fine. Close them on a sales letter, but don't hide the fact that it's not going to work if they don't do X, Y, and Z, you know? That's a big thing. And I think a lot of that comes from confidence. You have the confidence to tell a potential client, listen, this isn't going to work unless you do this. And when you do that, that client will generally respect you more, because they're like, this person isn't here to rip me off. They literally said, this will work, but only if you do it this way. If you do it this other way, my professional opinion is it's not going to work. So when you're that honest and that transparent and that confident to do that, it just naturally makes the person want to work with you, because now they're not feeling like you're just after their paycheck or their money. You're actually here to develop a long-term relationship. You want to work with them. You're really trying to earn their trust. So I love that.
And you actually give a shit about them. And I mean, I know that there's a thing in copywriting, and Gary Halbert said it, and there's a lot of people who still say it, and that is that clients suck. I think if clients suck, you've got the wrong clients.
Yes. Like,
get yourself some good clients. And at the moment, I have some freaking amazing copy clients that I just adore. And so I will go above and beyond to make sure that their copy works for them. I will do the gun to the head mentality. And not only is the gun up against my head, but it's up against theirs. And, you know, when you actually have such an affection and a reverence for the people that you're writing for, you can't allow any harm to be done to them. So that's how I do it. Yeah.
I love it. I love that you're like that. We need more of that in the industry, because a lot of people who can't close deals, you know, sometimes they just close anything they can because they need to pay their rent, and they forget that they also have an obligation to the client to actually make that shit work and be honest. You know?
Yeah. Well, I've seen copywriters that drop their price because they need to, because they're, you know, they can't market themselves. So they go, oh, I normally charge like $5,000 for this sales letter, but today only $500. And then I say, say to them, I go, well, how can you drop your price from 5,000 to 500? What's the deal with that? And they go, oh, well, I'm not going to do the deep research, and not going to do that, and I'm not going to do that. And I go, so does the client know that you're going to do not even a half-ass? That's not even a hair on your ass like job. You know, that's like, how can you write without research? That is just,
it's ridiculous.
Keep the price right and market yourself properly and get the right clients. Don't rip everyone off, and because then that like gives us all a bad name when people like that, you know, rip someone off for $500 and then no one wants to charge, no one wants to pay the, you know, proper fees.
Right.
And as everyone says, it is a race to the bottom, and I'm not going to be down with those bottom feeders. That's not where I deserve to be as a copywriter. I'm too well trained and I'm too professional for that. So
absolutely. And I think a lot of the problem is, and this is where it comes to the collaboration, what we were just talking about, you know, if you're dropping your prices and you're having a hard time closing and all that stuff, it's because you don't have a steady lead flow and you're trying to close the one person who just hit you up after 3 months and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to close them because like I'm late. So if the issue, so you just got to figure yourself out, look at yourself like your own funnel. Where is it lacking? If you can write the copy, can you close the deals? Okay, great. So you can close the deals and you can write the copy. Do you have people to close? If you don't have a consistent flow of people, you're really not doing it. And when I say consistent, I mean, if you use paid ads or even if you do organic stuff, like one of the things that I love about podcasts, I mean, obviously I have this podcast that I do with Tiffany, myself, but I also go on other people's podcasts, and that's how I grew my business organically. I would ask people who had big Facebook groups, like 100,000 people groups, 50,000 people groups, and I would message them and I'd say, hey, I love what you're doing with this group. I see you've got tons of people in there. And I want to know, would you be interested in interviewing me where I just give value? And we just do a little Facebook Live. I don't even have to pitch anybody, but I'll just give value. And so doing that stuff got a lot of, and then at the end, you know, usually at the end of a podcast, they say, well, how can people hear about you, right? And so you tell them, send me a private message, I'll give you a free consultation, whatever it might be. But I had loaded up like 20 calls on a podcast before, and it was just 1 hour of my time, and I got 20 calls. So I didn't close everybody. In fact, only like 3 or 4 people closed, but they were all big ticket deals. So I made 5 figures, you know, in an hour, really. Well, actually, it's not in an hour because I had to talk to the people. But, you know, still the point.
Yeah, but still, it's awesome leverage, though, isn't it? That's what it's about.
You've got to be able to have the lead flow, right? And so if you don't know how to do that, like I didn't know how to do that other than just doing these organic ways, but I was getting tired. I'm like, I need to figure out, I've got some money in the bank. Let me figure out how to do some paid advertising, because if I can figure that out, I can get a consistent lead flow. I can get booked calendars, you know? And so that's something that a lot of folks need to do. Once you start getting some money coming in, if you sell a retainer gig for $5,000, $10,000 a month or something, you know, put $2,000, $3,000 a month into Facebook ads to continue building that pipeline. Because, and when I say a pipeline, I'm not just saying what most folks do, which is develop an email list and just email people. That's great. If you're trying to really make money and you just want to cut a lot of the nonsense out of it, get on the phone. It's going to be a lot of work, because if you're running paid ads, you get 10 calls a day. It's a lot of work, 30 minutes per call, 40 minutes per call. But if you close even one of those people on $5,000 or $10,000, now you're making $5,000 a day, you know, maybe $2,000 in profit, which is not bad. So
exactly.
So I love everything we've talked about. I could sit here and keep talking for hours on it, but I want to respect your time. Where can people find out more about you and get to connect with you, hire you for more copywriting services, or just
cool. Well, I've got a couple of things. So I've got my own podcast, which I am going to have you on there. But at the moment, me and my partner are having too much fun just riffing about stuff. So, you know, when we get our guests on, I'll definitely have you on there if you're agreeable.
Yes, thank you.
I love this. Just the opportunity to chat more to you would be fantastic. But so I've got my own podcast, which is called Breaking Through the BS. That's it.
I love it.
And you can get that at breakingthroughthebs.com. It's on iTunes and everywhere that you get, you know, podcasts. And also thecopyalchemist.com. And also just stalk me on Facebook, Pauline Longdon. It's like London with a G in the middle of it.
How do you spell it, just for the folks who are listening?
Yep. So it's Longdon. I jokingly say get the Longdon look. But anyway, we're copywriters. We can change words and muck around. But yeah, so that's how people can get in touch with me. And I on my the Copy Alchemist site, I've got a weekly email that I send out called Knowledge Nuggets. And some people have said that it's like a marketing seminar in just a weekly email. So you're welcome to check that out. So,
and so that's at thecopyalchemist.com.
.com. Yep.
Perfect. Thecopyalchemist.com. Guys, make sure you check it out. Thank you so much for coming on, Pauline. Can't wait to.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun.
Same here. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.